Hey everyone, this is Yao Lyu, and I am presenting my paper Cultural Influences on Chinese Citizens' Adoption of Digital Contact Tracing, a Human Infrastructure Perspective, which is authored by me and my advisor, Dr. John M. Carroll, and we both come from Penn State IST. Digital contact tracing is the ICT approach for controlling the COVID-19 pandemic in many countries, but it collects users' sensitive information like real-time location and health conditions, so it raises concerns and even resistance. By July 2020, the adoption rates are still very low in many countries like Australia, India, etc. Meanwhile, in China, DCT apps, aka health code, have been adopted by about 1 billion people, 70% of its population, by June 2020. Now in China, people have to report their DCT status in most public spaces like train stations, markets, and residential complexes. So what is health code? Basically, it's a type of smartphone application embedded in popular mobile platforms like Alipay or WeChat. Users need to apply for a health code by going to the platforms and submitting a form, which verifies the user's identity and allows the app to track users' real-time locations. Then the app will assign the users a real-time update code. If the code is green, then the user is okay to travel to any public spaces. If it's yellow or red, the users should take quarantines and make daily reports on their health conditions. While we are aware that the government might contribute to the adoption of the health code by requiring people to use it, we are more interested in citizens' role in adopting the technology. Therefore, we ask, how did citizens adopt digital contact tracing in the COVID-19 pandemic? To answer the question, we deployed a qualitative study consisting of semi-structured interviews and thematic analysis. We recruited 26 participants who have diverse backgrounds through snowball sampling. Through the interview study, we find 3 levels of citizens' interactions with the DCT: interactions at the national level, the organizational level, and the interpersonal level. Interactions at the national level reflect citizens' relationship with the central government. All participants are aware that health code is a tool of surveillance introduced by the government. In China, social media websites or applications require users to provide a real name identity. This has been normalized long before the pandemic. So when the health code is introduced, people are not surprised. Some of them also emphasize the influence of culture when they view DCT as a national policy. For example, resisting health code will be isolated. This specifically shows Chinese citizens' respect for the social order, which named ritual propriety in Confucianism. Knowing that health code is a tool of surveillance, however, most participants still justify and accept it because they consider it as a way that protects the entire society from the pandemic, which should be prioritized over individuals' privacy concerns. Some participants even compared the adoption of health code in China with that in other individualistic countries, saying that they support the Chinese government and actively cooperate with the government because they believe the Chinese approach, which means citizens' unconditional cooperation with the government, is more effective in controlling the pandemic. This foregrounds the mentality of collectivism. The second theme is the interactions at the organizational level. Health code is a national policy introduced by the central government, but the implementation is done by local organizations like the management of apartments, universities, and companies. The interactions with DCT show the relationship between individuals and organizations. Over half of the participants complain that the local implementation of the health code is problematic. For instance, one participant tells us that after she discloses her travel history of having been to high-risk areas, the local authorities require her to take tests and fill forms repeatedly, and even publicize her information at the entrance of the apartment. This makes her doubt the health code's data security. That said, participants still choose to cooperate with the local staff because they interpret the harsh treatment in a positive way. They think the harsh treatment is because of the situation where the pandemic is so serious and the country is so determined to contain the pandemic. The situation pushes the local staff so hard, and the harsh treatment is just a natural reaction when they work extremely hard. So participants still consider understanding and cooperating with the staff as a new fashion of collectivism, which is called positive energy. The third theme is about the DCT in interpersonal interactions. At this level, people use health code as a way to shape the daily interpersonal social lives, always prioritizing the group safety. Some participants use the color of the health code as an indicator of social identity. When you get a green code, you are confident to socialize people in person because you are harmless. Besides, some also mention the issues among people who cannot use smartphones or emerging smartphone applications, highlighting the digital divide created by health code. Social support is an important source that participants use to address the issues. For example, taking care of aged parents or grandparents by helping them learn how to use health code. Our findings of the study have three main takeaways. First, in the pandemic, the DCT in China becomes a socio-technical infrastructure that residents have to rely on for their daily lives. And driven by the Chinese culture, especially Confucianism and collectivism, citizens actively form a human infrastructure to ensure that the DCT infrastructure works. Second, we perceive various frictions in the DCT infrastructure, like the local staff's harsh treatment to citizens. However, influenced by the Chinese culture, they interpret the frictions from a positive perspective. They believe the frictions are indicators of the seriousness of the pandemic and the commitment of the government. Frictions then facilitate the cooperation between citizens and the government in the pandemic. Third, taking DCT as an example, our study also shows the influence of Chinese culture in terms of adopting ICT infrastructures. The culture induces people's awareness of thinking collectively and being more cooperative with the government's ICT infrastructure agenda. It also motivates citizens to help the government fix the problems of the infrastructure. At the end of the presentation, we would like to thank our interviewees, Kai reviewers, and Dr. Yubo Ko and Dr. Xinling Gui for their contribution to this paper. Thank you.